Joining with us today is Viany Puspitasari, an international economy expert from Padjajaran University. Hello, Viany. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Hello.
So, how do you see the growth of ASEAN economies so far, reaching probably almost 3 years since the beginning of the pandemic?
Well, talking about the ASEAN economic growth so far, so we can detect it from the consumption growth. Well, consumption growth in all sub-regional economies rebounded strongly in the first 5 months of 2022 on the gradual lifting of COVID-19 mobility restrictions and the reopening of markets and borders. Manufacturing and services output is increasing in most economies, creating jobs and lifting household incomes. Still, Southeast Asia's economies face the challenges of higher oil prices, the end of low global interest rates, and continuing trade and supply disruptions. And, these factors have dimmed the outlook for some economies in 2022 and 2023. Smaller economies in particular are being more heavily affected by supply disruption and inflation from higher oil prices. Tourist arrivals are picking up, albeit very slowly. Indeed, economies in the sub-region with high vaccination rates have yet to see meaningful tourism revivals. Against this backdrop, the GDP growth forecast for Southeast Asia is revised up slightly to 5.0% in 2022 from Asia Development Outlook 2022's projection of 4.9%, and the forecast for 2023 is maintained at 5.2%.
Now, considering all the factors that you were actually saying, and also what happened, what is currently happening in the world at the moment, which country do you think has the more chance to grow in terms of economy among ASEAN countries?
Well, the outlook for Indonesia was upgraded to 5.1% from 5.0 in the previous survey. And for the Philippines, ticked up to 6.6% from 6.3%, while Thailand figure was up to 3.2% from 3.1%. And, recovery growth of the Indonesian economy is driven by an improvement of the global economic environment that is driving up performances of exports and investment, and the decline in cases of COVID-19 infections. But different things happened to other ASEAN member countries, where Malaysia growth forecast dropped to 6% from 6.1% previously, while Singapore's dropped to 4.3% from 4.6%. And Singapore's economy remains on an unstable trajectory as a result of its exposure to geopolitical risk and the fallout from the situation in Ukraine. Despite all the hindrance that took place in the region, among 10 ASEAN member countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand are the 5 countries having more potentials to grow amidst the elevating food and fuel prices. And that's it.
And also, one thing that I want to discuss with someone who is actually credible in this case, we saw that there are revisions to the forecast for the latter half of 2022 and for each country due to concerns about the slowing economy following the US interest rate hike and ongoing inflation is the thing that is on everybody's lips at the moment, not only in ASEAN but also across the world. Do you think this will impact ASEAN countries in somewhat way?
Well, actually, the major reason for the downgrade lies in the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate hike, and the Fed raised the benchmark interest rate on June 15 by 75 basis points. It was the largest hike since November 1994, setting the target federal funds range at 1.5% to 1.75%, eyeing to curb the worst inflation the country has faced in 40 years. And the Fed has also lowered its 2022 U.S. economic growth forecast from the 2.8% projected in March to 1.7%, casting a long shadow on Asian economies. And, the surge in inflation has put pressure on central bank to tighten monetary policy to control rising prices, tightening financial conditions, especially in major advanced economies, could reduce their foreign direct investment outflows to ASEAN economies. And A higher interest rate increases the cost of borrowing for both businesses and consumers, and the higher cost of credit reduces domestic private investment and consumptions while discouraging firms to invest overseas. And as a result, the reduction of FDI inflows could weaken ASEAN economic recovery by reducing job opportunities for the ASEAN workforce, capital to finance private investment, and corporate tax revenues to finance public expenditure.
So, from the things that we've been talking about and also the things that you've been saying, it is very dynamic when it comes to ASEAN economics, if not the world. But since now we are seeing lots of GDP sources coming back to respective countries, ASEAN countries are now steering away from the pandemic, safe to say, to resume economic and business activities, including accepting tourists. How do you think it will help to recover the economy?
Well, actually, tourism has been an important driver of job creation everywhere, including in the focus countries like ASEAN. Even prior to the pandemic, the tourism industry was beset with several structural challenges. Among other things is the over reliance on foreign tourists from a limited number of countries, focus on a few destinations led to reduced resilience and overcrowding. And another thing is the lack of infrastructure outside major destinations limited the potential for diversification, and also significant share of low wage and informal employment made achieving and maintaining high quality standard more difficult, and the amount of spending per tourist was below regional targets resulted to lower tourism revenues. Moreover, the coronavirus disease created new challenges for the industry. For instance, tourists are now more aware of the importance of health precautions, making these considerations crucial in selecting travel destinations. And there are indications that COVID-19 could lead to a fundamental decline in long-haul international tourism, an issue exacerbated by the adoption of digital tools for virtual meetings, incentives, conferences, etc. Finally, their environmentally sustainable tourism will be the solutions, for so that the pandemic has strengthened demand for it. And basically, provided that both the government of each ASEAN member countries and their stakeholders work hard, hand in hand, to solve the unfinished work, they will surely be successful to recover little by little.
Well, hopefully we will have the brighter future post-pandemic or entering the endemic phase. Viany Puspitasari, an international economy expert from Padjajaran University. It is interesting to talk about this with you, and thank you so much for being here. Stay safe.
Thank you.